lot of people tend to overcomplicate AI and they go, oh my gosh, it looks like this massive cliff I've got to climb as a business owner. And I'm busy. I don't have enough time already. I don't even know where to start. And I want to really address that question because it's one of the most common things I hear from business owners. And that's, where do I start? And I think if you're using AI or if you're not, the best place to start is with one of the three major platforms out there.
Welcome to the Carpet Cleaner Success Podcast, a show created to inspire carpet cleaning business owners to build their own thriving residential and commercial cleaning business. Your host, John Clendenning, has built and sold successful cleaning businesses for multiple six figures over his 30-year career and is the founder of Carpet Cleaner Marketing Masters, a digital agency that turns your online marketing into a lead generation machine. Tune in as John shares proven tips, strategies, and expert interviews to help fast-track your success in the carpet cleaning industry.
Hey everybody, welcome back for another exciting episode of the Carpet Cleaner Success Podcast. Your host, John Clendenning here. I've got a good friend of mine, Jonathan Mast, on the call, former owner of a digital marketing agency. That's where we met a few years ago in the cleaning and restoration space. So very, applicable to what we talk about and everybody that shows up at these podcasts. And Jonathan now runs an AI coaching and consulting agency. And I thought I'd get him on the podcast because AI is taking over everything, including cleaning business owners and use cases and all kinds of stuff. We're using a lot more of it. We use some of Jonathan's stuff and he's a consultant with us, but we're going to have a conversation about places where a business owner in the cleaning space, a home service business owner could use AI as well. So welcome to the podcast, Jonathan. It's been a while getting you on here. I've been looking forward to this conversation and introduce yourself, anything I missed, and let's get cooking.
Well, no, thanks for the invitation, John. Thrilled to be here. As you mentioned, we've known each other for a couple of years and love working with you and your team. I'm just excited to share a little bit about AI. I know, as you know, I really got into it in the last 18 months or so. I believe it's a natural fit for business owners, especially in the cleaning area. It really applies almost everywhere. And I'm excited to talk a little bit today about how it's more than just marketing. Everybody seems to go, oh yeah, well, let's use it to help us write this. And you and I both know that can be a massive failure. Yeah. But there's so many other areas where it can be a huge, huge help operationally, HR, standard operating procedures, just even brainstorming, probably one of my favorite things to do with AI as a business owner. And I'm excited to chat a little bit about that. So yeah, no, thanks so much for inviting me on.
That's awesome. No, cool. So yeah, let's unpack that whichever way you want to start, because I know you're knees deep in this stuff. So again, as marketers, we think of using it in the marketing realm, and once you get used to it, like even on our end, like our team, it's like, oh, I can write a prompt in ChatGPT, and you're going, sorry, honey, that's just not good enough. You need, nowadays GPT agents, you need multiple iterations, maybe moving through a bunch of the different tools, Claude and Perplexity and all of that stuff, just to create even good content that comes out that doesn't sound AI. But again, so a lot of people go, oh, I'm just going to write a blog post and I can just type something in. That's sort of like the base level that people think of using it for. I, on my own personally, just so you know, I have it on my phone, and I eat a low carb keto diet. And every now and then I'll go, chat, I have all of this in my fridge. What should I cook? And it actually comes up and tells me what to cook for dinner. So I use it for some pretty fun stuff too. But let's go down that road. Let's unpack that. What are some of these brainstorming ideas and HR ideas that that some of these that our audience can say, hey, yeah, that I could see that being a huge time saver versus just going to Google and reading 80 pages on it and hopefully getting an idea, the old way of looking for stuff.
Yeah, really good question. Well, I think, I want to kind of start off with, a lot of people tend to overcomplicate AI and they go, oh my gosh, it looks like this massive cliff I've got to climb as a business owner. And I'm busy. I don't have enough time already. I don't even know where to start. And I want to really address that question because it's one of the most common things I hear from business owners. And that's, where do I start? And I think if you're using AI or if you're not, the best place to start is with one of the three major platforms out there. And there's really three major AI engines. There's ChatGPT, which most of us have heard about. It's been out for a year and a half or so now, works very, very well. There's Claude that you mentioned, which is a newer comer, but a very, very solid. In fact, my favorite of the AI models.
Okay.
And even though you may not have heard of Claude or Anthropic, the company behind it, you've heard of all their investors. Companies like Amazon and I was going to say Amazon and Amazon. they've invested in multiple rounds now.
Yeah.
NVIDIA, who makes all the chips that run AI, and literally hundreds of other companies, of which dozens would be household names. So very, very big backers there. And then the third popular option is by a company we've all heard of called Google, and they have a product called Gemini. So one of those three, and it really doesn't matter a lot where you want to start, pick one and start using it. And the reason I say pick one is because everybody has their favorite. John, it's kind of like if you and I were going to buy a new car today, you might want to go to one dealership, I might want to go to the other one across the road. At the end of the day, we'd both end up with a good vehicle that likely was going to meet our needs, regardless of the badge that was on the front. And AI is really pretty similar in that. You can use any of them. Are there differences? Yes. Do some people have very strong opinions about that? Yes. At the end of the day, for the average business owner, pick one. It doesn't really matter. Okay. What I do want to encourage, though, is that most of them are going to charge you, if you want to use them much, $20 a month.
Yeah.
As a business, it's probably, in my mind, the best $20 a month you can spend. I make no money for saying that. Yeah. I don't get any affiliate links, nothing like that, but it really is amazing. And if you wonder how that works, most of the models today give you access to almost all the features for free. Yeah. But they kind of sell it like, and I'm going to date myself, but like they used to talk in the 80s, how drug dealers worked. They give you the first bit for free, and then once you go, oh, I want more, then they charge you. And so that's what most of the AI companies are doing. But as far as getting started with it, once you've picked your choice, ChatGPT, Claude, or Gemini, my favorite thing to do is, almost all of us as business owners have things that we're thinking about doing or problems we're trying to solve. And sometimes it's lonely as the business owner because we don't have an advisor to go talk to or somebody like that. Or, we probably don't want to bounce it off our spouse. That may or may not go over well at dinner. So what's the best way to do that? And I use ChatGPT, Claude, and Gemini to do this almost daily, where I talk about, okay, here's something I'm thinking about. What about this? Right now, we're looking to hire a new video editor for our agency. And so I've been talking with AI about help me write a good job description for this. Help me determine, do I need somebody full-time or part-time? And we've gone through and talked about the work that I have for them. I've then talked about, based on what you know about me, because it's learned a lot about me over the last year, what are some areas you think I really need to focus on so that when we find the right person, this position is successful and that they're able to excel at what they do? And I've literally had a conversation with AI. I'm typing, it's typing back. And I think that's the other thing I'd love to remind the audience of. It should be conversational. Yeah. This isn't like the magic 8 ball that you shake up and go, oh, am I going to get the right answer? Am I going to get the right answer? Yeah. It'll give you an answer. But to get the best answer, it's like you and I collaborating on a project, John. Yeah. We're going to talk. I'm going to give you ideas. You're going to ask questions. We're going to go back and forth. And that's how we're going to get the best results. And the same holds true with these models. And you can literally start by just going in and say, hey, I've got for example, this happened the other day with one of my clients. They go, well, what do we do? One of their techs was out. They ran got in an accident. They didn't have a policy in place for what do they do when they have an accident. He goes, my insurance agent just asked, what's our policy or what's our procedure when we have an accident? I need to give him one. What do I do? I said, well, let's go to AI. And let's say, all right, this has just happened. So in your case, we run a carpet cleaning business and one of our vans, unfortunately, just got in an accident. One of our employees was driving it. I need to have a policy and procedure that we follow when this event happens. Give me your best advice. And oh, by the way, ask me any clarifying questions that you need in order to give me that best advice. Because AI has been trained on all of this, John. It actually can probably give us a better procedure and policy to follow than what we could have done. And as a business owner who's got an insurance agent who's waiting for that email, it can do so in literally minutes. And you can then proofread that and go, okay, yep, this makes sense. I'm going to change a couple things here and there. And now you can say, all right, this is our policy that we have in place. Same for SOPs. We're talking carpet cleaners and window cleaners and all that. And if you've got people going into houses, you need to have a standard operating procedure for how they go into a house. Do they take their shoes off? Do they put booties on? How long do they knock at the door? What do they do if nobody answers? A host of things.
Yeah.
How do they leave the site when they leave? And yes, I know all of your employees have been trained on all that. I get that. But you and I both know that having been in an employee spot before, sometimes we're trained and we forget. With AI, we can not only refine our SOP to make it better, we can create a training module for our employees to go through, which includes a quiz to make sure they actually go through it. And then we could create a checklist so that whenever somebody goes on site and has to go in the house, they have to complete the checklist and submit it with the job paperwork. So we can see, did they actually follow what they were supposed to do? And again, we could do all that 2 years ago, but it would have taken hours and hours and hours of work, so it didn't get done. Now we're talking minutes and it's done.
And that's the important thing. Put a pin in a couple of those things. So one of the things that you mentioned was also putting in the prompt. So prompt engineering has become its own job, like getting better and better and better at writing these questions. And as you said, one of the easiest ways to do it is have that conversation. Treat it as an assistant. I've taught my entire team that. We've got team members that are in the Philippines, obviously raised in a different language. They speak English, but they were raised in schools to do a language. And so it's like, no, don't expect this thing to be your boss or the director of the department. They are just a junior assistant that you're asking questions to, and well, you didn't quite get that right. Can you know, and you're dialing in better yourself. And if you can ask it, like you mentioned, one of the trainings that we give our client or our team is ask it to tell it, ask me any questions, clarifying questions before you begin to make sure you're dialed in. Because we might not write the best prompt, but if we get it to ask clarifying questions, it is actually starting to sort of think in its what prompting it needs. Sort of it needs that input, and that
exactly
that alone really helps. And then the other thing you said is again, I teach on delivering the client experience. It's one of the things I was flown around the world for the past 20 years at conferences in the island of Samoa for a 3-day elite retreat and things like that.
Nice.
How to deliver a client experience, wearing booties, rolling out the red carpet, and delivering sort of the dog and pony show when you show up, getting a technician to ring the doorbell, take a giant step backwards and turn slightly to the side because the person answering the door is often the housewife or the mother-in-law, a little bit shorter in stature than a big carpet cleaner, and there's already, and you want to make sure that you've created this right environment. So if you've got that material and you've written some stuff out like that of sort of, or you've walked through something like that, or maybe even have a video where you're talking about it, or you can make a video, now you can take a transcript of that and add that in as the base document. So one of the ways that we can think here that simplify, because somebody might have been thinking, okay, well, I've got all of that training, but how do I get it to create a checklist? How do I get it to create? Well, one of the easy ways is take all of that material and upload it as the background data and say, based on this document, this piece of information, this list, this, whatever, this PDF, or depending on the platform. Again, each platform has its own way of adding that stuff in. Sometimes it's just copy and paste out of notes, but based on this, I would like to tear this apart and turn it into a checklist, turn it into a training module, as you said. You can now break it apart, which would have taken hours of thought and weeks of planning, and now just have it spit it out, look at it, edit it, go through it, change a few things, ask it a few more questions. Well, this section, can you move that around or whatever? Output it into a Word document, turn it into what you need, and print, right? So
yeah. No, and you made a comment, it's like having a junior assistant next to you, and I agree with that. The difference is it's like having a junior assistant that has researched almost every bit of information available on Earth. And so yes, you need to direct it, but it has so much information, it can help guide you through that process. And, sometimes, just like when we collaborate, sometimes it's going to miss. The other thing you mentioned, I think it's important to bring up is you talked about prompting. And I know a lot of people that are getting into go, Jonathan, you just lost me with that word. I don't understand what that means. What does prompting mean? And prompting is just literally typing instructions, or if you've got your mobile phone, let me find mine on my desk, with ChatGPT or any of the others, using and actually speaking to it through your microphone and asking it questions. That's all prompting is. It's kind of, I compare it to texting. So if you're out there and you're going, what's this prompting stuff? If you've ever texted anybody, that's like prompting AI. You're just texting, but text back and forth, because that one model, just like you said, that one question to get the perfect answer, in all likelihood isn't going to do that. And you also hit on, I think it's so important, when you're prompting, remember that AI has been taught to make assumptions. The reason is the developers want us to use the tools, and they know if it acted like a 3-year-old and every time we asked a question, it went, why, we'd stop using it.
Yeah.
So it's programmed to make assumptions. And you just added, ask me any clarifying questions. That one bit, if you just add that to the end of your prompt or your text message to AI, that one thing will improve your responses dramatically, because AI is smart enough to go, well, Jonathan, you didn't answer these 3 bits that would really be helpful in order to give you this answer.
Yeah.
And they're right. I'm probably not smart enough, or my ADD kicked in and I didn't remember. Either way, when it asks me the questions, it's a lot easier for me to go, oh yeah, here's this, 2, 3, go. And now I'm going to get a much more refined, much more nuanced answer that likely does meet my needs, because we took just a few moments. This is not hours. This is literally a minute or 2 in most cases to be able to do that. And you mentioned your phone. I want to encourage all the business owners listening, download the app on your phone, because if you're like me, you've got time when you get to an appointment a few minutes earlier, you get there and the homeowner's not there and you've got a little bit of downtime. It's a great time to use it on your phone. It all syncs up to your computer, and then you've got everything later. So, you can do that. You can even, and I live in a hands-free state, so I can't use the phone when I'm driving, at least in my hand, but they've even got voice now that I can use with ChatGPT, so that I can hands-free carry on a conversation while I'm driving to a client and literally have it help me out. It could be as simple as, reviewing the notes on my calendar and telling me what to expect at my upcoming call. But there's so many things we can use AI to do to help us out.
No, that's brilliant. And one of the things I've found it's helpful as well is, again, we all, if we've dug into the world a little bit, we hear about it hallucinating. Like that's it.
Yes.
It's got so much information. Again, assumptions. It's just kind of gone down a rabbit hole a little bit. And what I like to ask at the end is, based on the instructions, do you think you've accomplished the goal? And it'll give an answer. And 9 times out of 10, it'll say yes, and then tell you the reasons why and kind of get into detail. And then say, if you had to do this over again, would you do anything differently? And I've started asking that question. And all of a sudden it comes up with a whole bunch of things. And then the next point is, okay, can you redo this, rewrite this again? But with that, with those changes. So I've asked it to sort of self-reflect. And when you kind of ask it to first, do you think you've met instructions? It goes back and goes, well, yes, because of this and this. If you had to do it over again, would you? Well, now that you said that, and then, okay, go do that. And the next output is a little bit better, or a lot better sometimes, because you've just got it to kind of hone in a little bit tighter on the original instructions and not kind of sort of hallucinate or go off on an assumption. It kind of tucks it back in a little bit as well. So I found those are helpful to kind of add in that conversation where everybody thinks it's one prompt and done. No, just have this conversation and get it to sort of, again, it has the whole entire world of data behind it. That's almost too much data. So now let's tighten it up a bit. So.
Yeah. Well, I often compare it to anybody that's married, at least the guys, they'll be able to appreciate this. When my wife walks into my office and says, we need to talk, I immediately go, uh-oh, I forgot to do something I was supposed to, or I did something I wasn't supposed to.
One of those
and
things.
AI, and why? Because I've got 20 some years of marriage to think through.
Yeah.
In a snapshot. But if my wife comes in and says, hey, we got to talk about what we're doing for dinner tonight. Oh, no problem. Yes. Now I know that it likely means I got to go to the freezer and get something out for dinner because I'm the cook in the house. And I, of course, didn't think about it. Or are we going to go out to eat and all those things? Now I can narrow in really quickly. And AI is really that same way. Like you mentioned, it's been trained on all of this data. And yes, it can hallucinate, and that's make mistakes. Part of the reason why we need to understand is, John, I'm sure you've read content online or a book, maybe even 2 books that disagreed with each other. And you're like, which one is right? Because one book says A and one book says B. Yeah. Well, AI was trained on both of those books, but nobody necessarily said, I want to believe A. Yeah. So it's really important if you're the type that says, all right, I have this perspective. You need to tell it to take that perspective or write from that perspective so that it knows that this is the perspective you want to take as you're doing that, because it's read both all the pro and the con information out there for that. So that's super, super important. I love your idea of asking it to go back. I do something similar. I ask it often to rate on a scale of 1 to 10. 1, you failed miserably. 10, you hit it perfectly. Where would you rate this response? And I generally get somewhere between a 6 and an 8.
Okay.
And then I'll typically say, what could you do to improve it to a 9 or a 10? I don't know if I've ever got a 9 or 10, but like you said, then it will often make some adjustments to what it did to refine it. Again, much like we might go back to a person on our team when, let's say I have my assistant help me write a memo for a company event. She writes it, it's good. I send it back. Well, what would you change if you had more time to work on it? Well, all of a sudden now she looks at it through a different filter and she's like, well, I'd probably add this. And I guess we should probably add some more information about this, because there was that second chance, that second look, and AI does the same thing.
Yeah.
So really good advice.
And that's the way I use it as well. Like, I mean, I've always done that with the team. It's like, I am much better at editing, refining, and moving something forward once it's already started. Maybe that is the entrepreneur ADD in me as well, but I'd rather somebody hand me something, even if it's like my framework in my brain is always good, better, best. Can we start with good, move it to better, and then start iterating best over time? So same idea. Like, I don't even care if the team went to ChatGPT or wherever they're using, came up with something to pitch past me. It's like, if it's a message, an email, a webinar coming up, whatever, do something, get something started for me, and then pitch it. And then I can help them. I can refine it back and forth as well and do that same idea, and then say, yeah, go back to the well and fix this section, do this section. And that even gives them instructions to go back and prompt better as well. So, I mean, I've done that for before the days of AI. Yeah. And now if you think in those same terms of sort of treating it as that assistant in your office, if you're doing it yourself. So yes, we've got a couple of it. I love the idea of, like, I do chat to the one on my phone. And just so everybody knows, when you talk to it, when you come back to your desktop version of it and log into the same account, it's all typed out, right? So when I get it to make a recipe, I copy the recipe and move it into a doc that I can now use from this point forward. There's my recipe, and I just keep stacking them again when I do it for how to cook and things like that. The other thing I tend to find I'm doing more and more often is the starting off a prompt with act as, because you're saying take all of this and bring it in. So just act as an HR specialist, act as a copywriting specialist, act as a a training specialist or whatever, a home business service owner, training manager, or something like that. Give it a context and just start your prompt off with act as. Seems to mitigate a bunch of follow-up questions and at least kind of reels it in. Is there any other types of prompts like that you would say, like the act as is one of them, but any other ones that would help sort of somebody just getting new, like, again, a cleaning business owner driving around in their truck or in the office and looking to kind of just get some production out of the way quickly by using AI better?
We actually recommend a 4-step simple process, and it's really simple to get the best results. And we've already talked about 2 of them. So the first is, just as you said, act as what type of expert. So maybe, this morning, for example, my assistant had to write an email to one of our clients whose credit card was declined. And yes, I should have an SOP for what we send that out to, but it happens very rarely. And I don't. And so I said, Yvette, will you just go ahead and use ChatGPT and explain the situation and have it write an email for us? It did. I said, run it past me. I want to make sure just to take a look at it. And it was perfect. It was professional. It was polite, but it was also, here's what's going to happen if we don't get this fixed, as far as your service is going to be suspended and things like that. But it did so like with a smile almost. It was great. So the first is tell it what type of expert to act as. Step 2 is something we so often forget, but we dealt with a little bit, and that's background information. So if it doesn't know what's going on, you have to say, I'm Jonathan with Whitebeard Strategies, and I need this. Just as if I was talking to you about something. The third part is the question, and this is what most people put in. So act as an expert, here's the background, then here's my question, here's my prompt, whatever I want. And then the fourth part, which we talked about earlier, is so important, and that's simply ask me any clarifying questions you need. So if you put that all into one prompt, so let's say we're doing the SOP again, or this morning for Yvette, it was act as a professional copywriter. I need an email to a client whose credit card has been declined and is at risk of having their service suspended. Please write me that reminder email that we need an updated credit card in the next 72 hours. Please ask me any clarifying questions you need. That was one prompt.
Yep.
And it did. It asked her a couple clarifying questions, and we got this amazing email out. Normally, knowing myself, I probably would have taken 5 to 10 minutes to pour over that email, to think about all the various things. And I probably should have spent 20 minutes on it, but I wouldn't have. And then it would have been okay. But now literally a member of my staff who isn't trained in all that stuff was able to get that email written in under 2 minutes and have it back to me in literally 5 minutes. We had the entire process done, including my review. That's how it saves so much time for us as entrepreneurs. But yeah, just those 4 steps. Tell it what type of expert, give it the relevant background information, ask it your question, and give it permission to ask you clarifying questions.
That's perfect. Yeah. I mean, just, everybody listening to this, pause right there, write that down. There is your prompt framework from this point forward. Do that, and you are 90% down the road of getting a good output that you can then just, again, go back and forth and have that conversation with. So no, that's really good. Let's kind of, so we've given some ideas around SOPs. We've given some ideas, again, email, that happens all the time. A customer's credit card declines, or there's a late payment that obviously happens in the world of home service as well. Let's kind of, like, again, giving some other ideas that you've got in mind of other places that people can use AI in their lives to help run a brick and mortar business. What would be a couple of other ideas that might fit into that as well? Like policies made sense as well, obviously, because we should have.
I think policies are a big one, but another one might just be, again, let's say you've got a new staff member who's in charge of opening up the office in the morning or closing down the office at night, and you simply want to put a checklist together. They don't need it forever, but they need it for the first couple of weeks to remind them, turn off these lights, turn this off, turn this on, make sure the open sign in the window is turned off so it's not on, all those little things. And instead of thinking out this long drawn out list, again, I'd grab my phone and go, hey, I need to put together a checklist for my new ops manager, and here's the things that I want included when they open the office in the morning. Here's the things I want included when they close the office. Do you think I missed any? And it may then bring up some things that maybe you missed, didn't miss. So that would be one. Obviously, I think it's great for hiring. We're all looking, when we need staff, we're trying to find the right team members, the ones that fit. And nowadays, oftentimes it's more than just putting a job posting out, because it seems that everybody that wants a job's got one. So now we need to figure out, how can we make the opportunity at our company sound like it's a better fit for them? And AI can do that very effectively and help you write really engaging job descriptions that are going to make that end user go, wow, I want to work for ABC Carpet Cleaning because that looks like a great place to be. That's another area I love using it for.
Yeah. My daughter actually, graduated 5 years, biochemistry, something or other. Gosh, I was just way smarter than I am. And it was like trying to get a job in the field. And I literally went to ChatGPT and said, because it's, again, hard to get into the field on her end, like, how does she stand out? How did all that? What would be some ideas that would work? And it gave me ideas about volunteering. It gave me ideas about who to reach out to at different labs and hospitals and stuff like that. And they're all it was like, I used it as sort of like a career placement. And I think that was probably set act as a whatever. And I just copied and pasted it into our messenger chat that we were having. And she came back to me, you used ChatGPT for this, didn't you, Dad? I'm not going to lie, but it's really good. And you've got 10 options. And I think you could probably, use a couple of those to stand out. Right. And it was just sort of like, do I have a few off the top of my head, make your resume a different color and do the, all those old school ones. But in today's day and age, how do you stand out? Well, you stand out by knowing people. Like, we teach our clients, they can't just post on an Indeed and hope to get a carpet cleaning technician nowadays. The best ones are employed. So it's like, can you go to a church? I generated lists of this that we've done, but also took that entire list back into AI when I was doing a presentation back in December, I think it was, with Jeff Cross from CleanFacts magazine. We did a whole thing on a roundtable on how to hire in this industry because the world has changed. And part of it was taking the list of all the stuff I'd ever done in my 30 years of running cleaning businesses, plugged it in and said, what works in 2023, 2024? Right. And
Yeah.
it came back with like some refinements on some social media ideas I hadn't thought of and things like that. And, so yeah, like going to a church and saying, hey, you might know some people in the congregation that are looking for a job or whatever. Would there be a way that we could post? And then if we do hire somebody from here, we'll give you a commission or a stipends to the
Exactly.
tithing to the church. And the other one has said, well, if you like that church idea, what about sports leagues and little leagues and things like that? Or like, because the ideal technician for a carpet cleaner is probably around early 20s to late 20, males
Sure.
are the best ones to carry the equipment and stuff like that. Well, where do they also congregate around? The better ones, not the ones that are fully tattooed and faces tattooed and piercings and stuff like that, but where are the the good wholesome kind of crowd? Well, those are a couple of the ideas it spit out, and I'm going, holy crap, those are really good ideas too, right? So yeah, you can use it for that brainstorming like you mentioned as well, where it's like, hey, think outside the box for me. What are some other ideas, right? So
Well, and that's it. It's going to be able to think about things. We so often, as entrepreneurs and business owners, we get so buried in the day-to-day operations of what we're doing. I know it still happens to me that I don't take a break to look up until the end of the day. And some of the things I need to do, I really need to take a step back in order to do the best job at.
yeah.
And it's so important. An AI can help you do that because it's always got time and it can always turn things around. And again, I just find it super, super helpful.
Yeah.
Like you mentioned, it also can be fun just on a personal level. Like you, I've literally went to my refrigerator. I also am eating a keto type diet and taking a picture. And it's even funny because the last time I did, my kid doesn't necessarily eat that way, my 17-year-old. And so there was a loaf of bread in there. And it even made a comment about don't use the bread. That's not going to be keto friendly. And I'm like, okay. And literally it did that off an image that I took by opening my refrigerator and going, okay, here's what's in my refrigerator. What could I do today? And it asked me a couple quick questions, but it's amazing what it can do like that. Same thing for, analyzing something that's been done. Again, looking at, I'm trying to think of a good example in the carpet cleaning business, but you can take images and upload those images and AI will do an amazing job of recognizing what's going on in that. As you said, the food was one example, but there's so many things. And I think it's what makes AI, once you start using it, it really is one of those, it's like, wow, how did I get by without it? It's almost like, the first time I started sending text messages years ago, I was a little reluctant. I'm like, I don't know if I like this text message thing. Now I don't know how I'd get through a day without it.
Yeah.
And AI, to me, email could be another example, but AI is another example. That the difference is, unlike text messages and email, we don't have people bombarding us with stuff because we're the one asking the question. So again, it's great. Speaking of email, by the way, that's another thing I use it for regularly. I need to write an email to somebody. I need to figure out the best way to do that. I can just say, I need to write an email to John about these 3 things. Help me write a great email. And it will do that again in seconds, as opposed to me spending minutes poring over an email or not spending the time on it and getting it sent out way too fast and not getting you what I needed.
And that makes sense because, again, we talk a lot about making sure that, like there's a chase sequence. You follow up with somebody. Say you did a quote at a commercial facility and they've just kind of ghosted you. They've paused a little bit, right? You can message them, text message, email, I'll follow up with them. And if you don't really know what to say, a lot of people just don't do it. Or they sort of painstake over the one email. Well, maybe 3 or 4 days later, they should send another one, right?
You're right.
You could actually say, hey, I'd like to, this person still hasn't responded. I'd like to share some great results from another client or whatever. How would I write that in an email as a follow-up? Hey, we'd love you to get these same results. And sort of you can drip a little nurture on them like that. And you can get it to help with that, where, again, it's spitting it out in seconds. You came up with the idea, but you would spend an hour struggling over writing it the right way that wouldn't come across sort of, maybe spammy or a little too aggressive. And you just give it a style and say, well, that seems a little harsh. Can you tone that down a little bit? Make it friendlier? Perfect. Thank you. And it's that fast that you've put an output. So Yeah, I could. Yeah, obviously, if once you dive in, if we've got anybody on the call that's not using it, don't have their staff member, office managers using it, definitely start just looking into opening it up. One other thing I use it for a lot is I'm self-taught on Excel, and I mean
Yeah.
key lookups and like I mean pivot tables and all this kind of stuff. It's like every time I needed to do something, it's like hours of going on Google and searching for how to do this and YouTube videos and all that kind of stuff. And probably only 6 months ago, I went, you know what? Why don't I just in this column I've got this, in this column I've got this, in this cell I want to put this. How would I write the formula for that? And it goes, and not only does it tell me the formula, it tells me why and what function to use and try the, VLOOKUP plus match and this and that. And here's how you'd write that. And, copy, paste it in, and there's your answer. But you also can read through and figure out how it got there. So you're not completely blind to sort of like using a GPS and going, I have no idea how I ended up at this person's home or this resort. I'll never be able to get my way back again because I just literally followed the things right. You should learn a little bit of what happened there, but you don't have to. But yeah, I've used that now for Excel, and all it does is speed up the ability to get the output I want. And again, in business, we all use things like Excel and tables and, quantify this and find any customer that, download this database and find any customer that didn't get this service that hasn't called back in this period of time. But boom, there's your list, right? That could have taken hours to figure out how to create that. Now it's minutes, right? So same idea. So cool.
No, and I'm glad you mentioned that. It knows all those applications. One of my favorite ones is I have a love-hate relationship with QuickBooks. I'm sure some of your clients use that as well. And I love it and hate it because I can never, it seems like the developers of QuickBooks never put a single button where it was supposed to be for the way my brain thinks. Now, again, maybe for the way that, and so I go into AI all the time and go, how do I do this in QuickBooks? And it will literally give me click here, click here, click here. And whenever I do that, I go, well, I would have never thought of that, but okay, and it works.
Yeah.
Excel's another great example like that. I want to write a formula to, what do they concatenate, I think they call it, when you bring two cells together or something like that. I'm probably mispronouncing it. I can never remember that formula because I use it like twice a year.
Yeah.
But if I go to AI and go, I have column A and column B, and I need to create column C that puts in both values and combines them, it says, oh, here's your formula.
Yep.
Oh, boom, done.
Yeah. No, it's incredible. And that I think that is the point, is that, we could go on and on about all these ideas. The point is jump in, start playing with it, use it where you can, and think of other applications. I like to follow a few YouTubers, follow Jonathan on YouTube and stuff like that. I think there's always like, oh my gosh, I never thought of that. Oh my gosh, I never thought of that. I don't know what the future of search is going to be, because again, Google built its entire, like obviously Google's transitioning this way as well, because Google built its entire platform around giving a great user experience and trying to get the best information up front. Now we know that, again, with AI, we can get those steps without having to go all the way to QuickBooks website to their help. Even if we typed it in well, and it took the very first result or the second or third result was somebody telling us how to use QuickBooks, and then we had to click on it, and then we had to read through it. And eventually find the step-by-step instructions. Now it's just like, no, this is all you need. That's all you asked for. There you go. Here's the answer, right? So yeah, like I can't even imagine what the world looks like in 5 years from now when that's baked into everything, like everything.
Yeah.
Right. So
well, it's definitely going to change things around. It's going to change the way, more than anything, the way we as humans interact with that data. And therefore, the applications like Google and that are going to have to change, because the way we implements better. You probably saw, I think it was Thursday last week, ChatGPT, I can't speak today, just announced Search GPT, which is going to be a now direct competitor against Google. I don't know how it's going to work yet. It's just out in beta, and I'd love to say I have access, but I don't yet. But that's going to change the way things work, and just be ready for that as a business owner nowadays. Don't threat it. Don't worry about it. Be ready and embrace it, because by embracing it, you'll be able to provide better service to your customers. There will be things that I know by the end of the year that we'll be able to do in our cleaning businesses that will make a better customer experience, that will mean they'll come back more frequently, give us better reviews, spend more money with us because of the fact that we're using some of these technologies.
Yeah, no, I think that's a beautiful sort of takeaway from all of this is, we spend so much time, like I'm just looking around my office here and I've got, because of my 30 years in the industry, I've got Howard Partridge stacks of old cassette tape over there. I've got Prana marketing stuff, and I've got Michael Gerber E-Myth stuff and all of that kind of, but a lot of this data, like again, it's already known. If you can say, hey, based on this training, this transcript, this whatever, what would be a good next step to do this in business? And now it's not hours and hours and hours and hours of going through the material again that you remember listening
Exactly.
to 10 years ago. Oh, there was a couple of good ideas there. Now it's a matter of learn it, because we're business owners, we should learn it, bookmark it when you're ready for it, go back to your notes and go, yeah, let me take that, and now it's time to implement that. And implementation, like speed of implementation, is how we grow businesses. And we've just got tools now that can speed up our implementation even more. So
Oh yeah.
stand out against the competitors, because if you don't, they're going to be standing out against you by using this anyways. So it's a keep up kind of thing. So cool. So
Absolutely 100%.
I think we've imparted a lot of good information here in the 30, 40 minutes we've kind of chatted. What would you say is a wrap up sort of idea of things that people should do to kind of, for ones that are already waded into this world and the ones that are hesitant and not, where should they go? What should they do next? What's a kind of a good next step for a business owner looking to put in some of the suggestions we've just rattled through in the last little bit?
Well, I think that is, be open and be trying to think of reasons when you need an advisor to help you out, when you need somebody to help you do something, whether that's an admin or whether that's a business consultant or anybody else. Just be thinking as a business owner, when something comes up, go, man, I wish I had somebody to help me with this. You now have someone to help you with this, and it's called AI in the form of ChatGPT, Claude, or Gemini, and just ask them to help you through whatever it is, whether that be advice or what. And it's like talking to friends. Sometimes I don't take my friend's advice,
Exactly.
but many times I get insights that I wouldn't have thought of had I not asked. And keep that in mind, the decisions you make are still your decisions. You're still going to decide what to do with it. And you and your teams are not going to be replaced by AI. I know there's a lot of employers that are worried to go, I love my team and I don't want to bring it in because I don't want to replace them. You're not. What you are going to be able to do is you're going to be able to serve more customers. You're going to be able to provide a higher level of service, and you're going to be able to further separate yourself from your competition so that when that next job comes up, your clients and their friends and their associates reach out to you because you have a reputation for delivering more value than everybody else because you decided to use AI, and you're able to really just add gas to that fire of your business that's already going to help it go faster, grow better, and better serve your clients.
No, I appreciate that. I think that's a really good way to wrap this up, is just take that thought, everybody, and definitely just start jumping in, because it's not going away. It's like this is like when they said, "Oh, the internet's just a fad." Well, sorry, it didn't go away.
Yeah.
This is not just a fad. This is life, and it's infiltrating every area of our lives, and it's going to continue. So don't be afraid of it. Jump in and use it for all of those things. I, for one, can't wait for the day, and you probably already know you might know already that there is something that does this. One of the big bugaboos in my life is scheduling travel, finding the best tickets, the best flights without connecting flights and all of those things. And I'll spend hours with Expedia and Hotjar and all these things open, going back and forth. I can't wait to the day that it's just somebody's built an AI tool, or there's a prompt or something that just goes out, does it all, and comes back with the best itinerary. I haven't found that yet. I haven't gone digging for it, but my gosh, any areas in our lives like that where we just get frustrated doing the task, it would be great to have sort of that personal assistant that just could go boom, 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 boom. Here you go. Here's 2 or 3 suggestions. Pick which one you want to do, and we'll book those for you. So I'm sure it's coming.
I have not tried this, but Kayak has a custom GPT for Chat GPT. I've not tried it. I should have just done it. I just had to book travel down to Mexico.
Yeah.
So for a speaking engagement, I should have done it, but I didn't. That'd be interesting to try out.
I think it would, because I think it's one of those, any of those frustrations in life, if you can get an AI to take that off your plate. Like back in the day, it used to be hire a personal assistant, have your office manager do it, get somebody to take the stuff that that frustrates you, lower value tasks that frustrate you, hand it to somebody else so you can work on the higher value tasks, meeting clients, landing new jobs, all that kind of stuff. Well, now we've also got the ability to then put that through AI. Tell our office manager, use an AI tool to do that. Don't spend 4 hours figuring out my flights. Find this kind of idea as well. So cool. Well, I think we've opened up some people's eyes, hopefully. Definitely put in the comments wherever you're watching this, whether it's YouTube or on the podcast, you're listening to it, whatever. Put some comments, any questions, any thoughts you have from this, how you're using AI in your world. Definitely reach out, look for Whitebeard Strategies and follow Jonathan. He's got lots of good stuff on Facebook, on YouTube and stuff like that. So, keep your brain kind of rolling through this and how it can help you in your business. And any famous last words and parting thoughts, Jonathan, to the crowd that can help them out?
Well, if I can add any value, I'd love it if people would connect, and they can just do that at jonathanmast.com. That's mast.com/linktree. And I've got links to all my social media. There's a lot of free resources. I'd love to add value where I can. And the last word is just understand what John just said. AI is here to stay. It's not going away. So we can make a choice. As a business owner, we can either bury our heads in the sand and have our competition surpass us, or we can embrace it and surpass our competition.
Yeah, perfect. Well, thanks so much for jumping on. Really appreciate it. And till next time, everybody, take care and happy cleaning.